Jake Gyllenhaal went from playing a malnourished reporter in Nightcrawler to an insanely jacked boxer in South Paw in only 8 months. And just like him, you can completely transform your body and your life if you listen to how he did it. So Jake went from his worst ever physique straight to his best ever physique. For Nightcrawler, Jake starved himself and did an insane amount of cardio to lose 30 pounds off his 180-pound frame. Then the moment filming wrapped for Nightcrawler, he had 8 months to not only rebuild his physique, but also he needed to go from a guy who knew nothing about boxing, someone who couldn't even throw a jab, to a complete boxing pro. And of course, the first step to rebuilding his physique was getting his diet right. During this time, Jake ate the standard diet of a Hollywood actor who's trying to get jacked. Lots of lean protein, veggies, healthy fats, starchy carbs, and very little junk food. In the articles written about his transformation, they say he gained 28 pounds of lean muscle mass during his Southpaw prep, which is not something that's physically possible in 5 months. This is just some Hollywood bullshit where reporters, actors, and directors will say any weight gained by an actor during the movie's prep is pure muscle. When in reality, when you gain weight, even if you do it without gaining much fat, the weight gained is always going to be a mixture of muscle mass, fat mass, intermuscular water because of larger glycogen stores, and also just the extra food kicking around in your system. This is especially true in this instance for Jake because he was super depleted for Nightcrawler, so the second he actually started eating again, his body filled right back up, leading to a bunch of weight gain, a lot of which was just water. But Jake did gain a lot of muscle during this 8-month span, and he gained it a lot faster than the average person would have been able to. Now you might be asking, is that because of steroid use? We'll talk more on that later, but that wasn't the main reason. The main reason was something called muscle memory. Muscle memory is a phenomenon where a person can rebuild muscle mass in a much smaller amount of time than it originally took them to build it the first time around. This is because when you build muscle, your body builds up levels of something called myonuclei, which essentially help you build muscle more quickly. These myonuclei stick around even if you lose a bunch of muscle mass, and they'll make it easier for you to rebuild that muscle in the future. So since Jake has gotten into great shape before for roles like Prince of Persia, he already accrued a bunch of myonuclei that helped him bulk back up after losing all that muscle for Nightcrawler. So what this means for you is that even if you get into really great shape only to fall out of shape, you'll always be further ahead of the game than someone who's never been in good shape. Now before we get onto Jake's Southpaw training program, here's a quick word from our partners over at SuperX. They've got the world's most badass workout gear with sick designs based off all your favorite heroes. Their stuff doesn't just look good, but it feels great. With its super stretch fabric, you can work out completely uninhibited. They've got thousands of 5-star reviews from all across the globe, so you know it's good stuff. If you want to feel like a badass, then you gotta use the link in the description of this video to get yourself a sick outfit, and make sure to use code DEMERCE for 20% off your first order. Now back to the video. So Jake Gyllenhaal trained twice a day for 5 months to get jacked for Southpaw. In the mornings, he would start off with insanely high volumes of push-ups, sit-ups, and dips. I'm talking like 1,000 at a time. Then he would go for a 3 to 8 mile run. The distance would increase over the 5 months. Then he would hit the gym, where he would train all things boxing for about 2 hours. He would hit the speed bag, hammer away at the heavy bag, he'd work on his footwork, and of course he'd do plenty of sparring. If you guys are liking the breakdown and want me to cover Sylvester Stallone's training for Rocky next, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment Rocky down below. Now when most actors are asked about how they got into shape for a movie, they usually talk about all the hours they spent lifting weights in the gym. But for Jake, his entire focus was on becoming an amazing boxer. And a big thing that motivated him was actually not wanting to look like an idiot when he stepped into that ring. So he trained like a madman to learn as much as possible about boxing. And by the end of the process, he didn't just end up with the skills of a boxer, but he also ended up with the body of one. Now this is the exact same thing you should do if you want to get into amazing shape and stay that way. Find a sport or type of training that genuinely gets you excited and create some performance-based goals around that sport or style of training. Focusing on performance-based goals opposed to just aesthetic-based goals is a great way to stay motivated in the gym, because typically your performance metrics will improve much more quickly than your overall body composition. It takes months to lose a good amount of fat, and it takes years to build a good amount of muscle. But as a newbie, you can put 50 to 100 pounds on your bench press in a few short months, which is very motivating. Now many of you might think Jake took steroids for this transformation, but I think there's a good chance he didn't. He did put on a lot of muscle very quickly, but a lot of that could be attributed to muscle memory. And I believe his physique looks very naturally attainable. There are some shots in the movie where he looks pretty insane, but you can chalk that up to heavy downlighting, his muscles being pumped up and flexed, and possibly the use of diuretics to make him look really dry. Now we talked a lot about his training, but if you want to get shredded, diet should be a big focus of yours. And to learn all about dieting for fat loss to get shredded, check out my video on Michael B. Jordan's training for Creed 2.